Welcome back to The Morning Show. It's 21 minutes after 6 o'clock. Now, every Think Tank Tuesday on The Morning Show, we take the opportunity to promote a good habit of reading. And on the TMS Book Club, we sit down with some of the most talented authors Mzansi has to offer. And this week, Sewela Langeni of the Book Circle Capital gives us her pick of books to read as we observe African Liberation Day in the month of May. Let's check it out.
Dumelang, good morning to the viewers of the TMS Book Club. My name is Sewela Langeni from Book Circle Capital. It is indeed an honor for me to discuss the books features for this month, the month of May, the month that is become known as Africa Month, because 25 May is Africa Day and the rest of the month is indeed known as Africa Month. First on my list is Black and Female by Tsitsi Dangarembga, a well-known African author that has written books like Never's Condition, The Book of Not, This Mournable Body, which was nominated for the Booker Prize. In this book, she addresses issues of gender, issues of race, issues of colonization, and its legacy that continues to plague us to this day. So she goes into personal history and explaining her own story. Come with me, I have more in store. Continuing on our theme for Africa Month, I've got two books, fiction books, that I want to just discuss with you and show you as part of the TMS Book Club for May. First on the list is The Wanderers. The Wanderers by Mpushu Ntabeng, which was published in 2021. This book takes us to Tanzania, but first it starts in South Africa in the Eastern Cape. We are introduced to the main character, Pax, who actually is narrating his story through journals that his daughter Ruru then gets to find and actually starts learning about her father. So this book addresses issues of migration. Because of our political history and the liberation movement, Pax went to exile in Tanzania and never came back home. But his daughter finds a lot of his journals and then she gets to know who her father is. And in the end, she actually takes a trip to Tanzania to retrace his steps and meets people that he shared his life with. It's a story about, you know, the resilience that families have had to go through and the stories of our lives on the continent because of the mobility and the migration and how that affected the family unit. Still on the same theme, this book, The Lost Language of the Soul, touches on issues of identity, belonging, and family. And it's key, especially highlighting the issues that as a continent we face around migration and changes in the landscape because of our history of colonialism and apartheid in South Africa. Join me, I have lots more. So what is Africa Month? Africa Month is a month, obviously, where we celebrate all things African. It was established, I think, in 1963 by the Organization of African Unity, where all African countries came as one just to celebrate all things Africa and encourage an exchange among African countries. As a viewer, you would know that often Africa is seen as a dark continent, and we are saying no, it's not, and it's a continent full of so much promise and resources, and we are definitely working towards changing that narrative. And as Book Circle Capital, that's absolutely what we're about. We focus on books that are of African literature from authors from the tip of the continent to the bottom in the south. And one of those authors that we are profiling is Victor Kgomoeswana. This is his second book following his successful book Africa Opens for Business 10 years ago, and he did a follow-up late last year with this book, Africa Bounces Back, case studies from a resilient continent. In the book, Victor talks about various essays just to make a case that, you know, even though we do face challenges as a continent, from slow economic growth, from corruption, there are cases where as a continent we are excelling. He gives examples, and this was written following in the context of COVID-19. So he shows a lot of examples where we as a continent have so much promise and growth. Africa has the youngest population, and that means potential for people to continue to do so many things. He talks about, for Zimbabwe, life after Mugabe. For South Africa, he talks about our ability being a gateway for the rest of the continent, and he talks about the impact of China onto the continent. So this is definitely one of a good read, especially when one is wanting to understand what are some of the economic benefits and promises that one can gain from the continent. And last book that we're profiling for this Africa Month is one of my favorite books of all time. This book was published a while ago in 2018 by a journalist called Lerato Mogoatle. Lerato decided to take a sabbatical and travel the continent. So the book is called Vagabond, Wandering Through Africa on Faith. Lerato goes to many African countries, including Mali, Kenya, Uganda, Rwanda, Sudan, Egypt, where she actually tours for 5 years. She had intended to go, of course, for a shorter time, but she was swallowed essentially by the continent. She explains that she had very little budget, so she relied on the kindness of strangers. So this is a journey of self-discovery personally for her, but also just a discovery of the continent. So it's a travel journal because she is a travel writer, but also, you know, she reflects about her faith, she reflects about her hope for the continent, and just to give us hope that, you know, we are on a wonderful continent that has so much future and prospects. So those are my features for Africa Month, and I hope that as a reader you'll go out there and look for them as Book Circle Capital. We've got copies in store, and yeah, happy reading and happy Africa Month.